All right, welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're tuning into a match this weekend, you already know there's a lot more to it than just a bunch of guys running around kicking a ball. But unless you know exactly what to look for, you might be missing this incredible high-speed geometry happening right in front of your eyes. Today, we're not just looking at a grass field, we're decoding a highly sophisticated system. I mean, it's pretty easy to get lost in the sheer motion of it all, right? On the surface, you see 22 players, and goals can sometimes just feel like these sudden flashes of random brilliance. But what you're actually watching is honestly one of the most intricate systems of human coordination ever designed. It's a tactical language that's taken well over 150 years to build. So we're going to pull back the curtain and map out this invisible blueprint. Every single player out there operates inside this architecture that dictates every run they make, and maybe just as importantly, every pass they don't make. Moving from the back line all the way up to the opponent's goal, I'm going to show you exactly how the modern game has radically evolved and how it bends traditional positions into completely new weapons. Here's our roadmap up the pitch today. We'll start with the invisible blueprint, look at keepers and the defense, dive deep into the midfield engine room, explore the creators and the iconic number 10, analyze modern strikers, and finally, look at how this whole tactical map gets intentionally broken. Step by step, this is going to completely change the way you watch a match.
Okay, Section 1, the invisible soccer blueprint. You know, hearing the formation called out on TV, like a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, is really just giving you the starting points.
To really grasp what's going on, think about the word midfielder. On paper, they all look like they're doing the exact same job, but they aren't. Calling someone a midfielder tells you almost nothing. It's kind of like calling someone a doctor, sure, but are they a brain surgeon, a psychiatrist, a cardiologist? The title is the same, but the actual day-to-day job is completely different. A midfielder could literally be playing an entirely different sport than the guy standing 10 feet away from him. Moving on to part 2, keepers and the defense. Let's start right at the back, where traditional roles have been completely rewritten in just a single generation. It used to be so simple, right? Stop the ball. Well, not anymore. Back in the day, goalkeepers were traditional shot stoppers. They stayed glued to their line and just reacted. But then Manuel Neuer at Bayern Munich basically turned the goalkeeper into the first attacker. He popularized the sweeper keeper, aggressively patrolling the space behind the defense. And just ahead of him, center backs like Virgil van Dijk completely changed the game by making defending, well, boring. Their absolutely perfect positioning, he ensures that danger almost never even reaches him in the first place. And honestly, being called boring in defense, that is the ultimate compliment. And this evolution definitely doesn't stop at center back. Think about fullbacks under managers like Pep Guardiola. They used to have the absolute simplest job on the pitch: stay wide, defend the wing. Now, we have these inverted fullbacks who cut right inside into the midfield, essentially becoming extra central midfielders the second their team gets the ball. These guys are covering a staggering 13 kilometers in a single match. They took the most straightforward job on the team and transformed it into one of the most physically and tactically demanding roles in all of sports. All right, Section 3, the midfield engine room. As we move up into the center of the park, we find the deepest sitting players who are essentially holding this entire architecture together. Down at the very base of the midfield, you have the defensive midfielder. And nobody mastered this anchor role quite like Sergio Busquets did for Barcelona for over 15 years. That quote says it all, doesn't it? The anchor is a load-bearing wall, constantly intercepting passes and recycling possession. They're basically invisible to the casual fan, but they are absolutely foundational to the team surviving out there. If this player has an off day, the whole building comes crashing down. Now, just ahead of that anchor, the midfield shatters into these highly specialized archetypes: the regista, the anchor, the box-to-box, and the mezzala. Every single one of these labels represents a totally different tactical objective, requiring a completely different physical and mental skill set. The key here is to think about how these roles actually function on the grass. A regista, like Andrea Pirlo, dictates the tempo of the entire game through visionary passing from deep. An anchor, like Makalele or Busquets, controls it through pure positioning, basically just standing exactly where the opponent wants to go. Then you've got the mezzala, like Kevin De Bruyne, who drifts into those wide half spaces and exploits angles defenders simply haven't anticipated. And of course, absolute legends like Zinedine Zidane proved that the truly great ones ultimately transcend these labels altogether, playing an idea rather than just a fixed spot on the pitch. Moving right along to Section 4, creators and the number 10. Stepping further up the pitch, we enter the zone where the true artists of the game used to live. Which brings us to one of the coolest words in soccer,
the trequartista. It beautifully translates to three-quarters. Played flawlessly by absolute legends like Francesco Totti and Juan Ramon Riquelme, this player operated purely in the pocket. Their entire purpose was to just exist in that space, predict the flow of the game, and make everyone around them look like superstars, often without ever having to sprint, press, or do any of the gritty defensive work.
But here's the thing, the intense, high-pressing systems of modern soccer basically killed off the classic luxury number 10. The space they used to live in just doesn't exist anymore. It's too compressed. This forced modern creators like Jude Bellingham to adapt. They can't just wait around for a moment of inspiration anymore. They have to be both a creative engine and a relentless pressing workhorse. The pure luxury playmaker is pretty much extinct. Okay, Section 5, the modern soccer strikers. Let's move right up to the very top of the formation and see how the goal scorers fit into this intricate tactical map. Because just like the midfield, the word striker is actually hiding a multitude of entirely different jobs.
For instance, a poacher like Erling Haaland. He lives purely on instinct. He might only take one touch inside the box the entire match, and boom, it's a goal. Contrast that with a target man, like Didier Drogba or Olivier Giroud, who uses their massive physical presence as a literal battering ram to create aerial dominance and hold off defenders. And then you have the complete striker, someone like Robert Lewandowski, who honestly has zero weaknesses and can just adapt to whatever the 90 minutes demand.
And then there's Thomas Müller, a guy so unique they literally had to invent a German word for his role. The Raumdeuter, the space interpreter. He acts as this shadow striker who doesn't have a fixed position, and he definitely doesn't hold up play. He simply calculates, lurks, and materializes out of thin air in the empty spaces nobody else is watching. He arrives late, making these phantom runs that defenders miss entirely because they're way too busy watching the main striker. Finally, Section 6, breaking the tactical map. Let's look at the wide areas and the wild, modern innovations that have completely shattered traditional defensive structures.
Out on the flanks, traditional wingers used to just hug the touchline, sprint down the side, and whip crosses into the box. But the modern game flipped the wings entirely. Managers realized, hey, let's put left-footed players on the right side. Suddenly, players like Lionel Messi and Mohamed Salah became inverted wingers. This allowed them to receive the ball, cut inside onto their incredibly strong foot, and shoot. Almost overnight, they were scoring the sheer volume of goals that used to belong exclusively to central strikers. But if we move back centrally, we hit the ultimate tactical disruption, the false nine. This is a striker who entirely abandons their post. As soon as the whistle blows, they drop deep into the midfield. This forces the opponent's center backs into a terrible choice. Do they stay put and let this lethal attacker turn with the ball and run at them? Or do they follow the attacker and create a fatal, massive gap right in the very heart of their own defense? We all saw this completely unleashed back in 2009, when Pep Guardiola weaponized Lionel Messi in this false nine role against Real Madrid. The defending team literally had zero answers. I mean, they lost 6-2. The entire tactical map completely broke down because the space the center backs were supposed to be defending was just empty. Nobody was where they were supposed to be. The immense success of the false nine really reveals the core philosophy of the modern game. It proves that soccer isn't just about where the ball is. It's about geometry, movement, and deception. It leaves you wondering, is the absolute most lethal space in sports actually the space that is left intentionally empty? Next time you watch a match, try not to just follow the ball. Look for the blueprint.